Hey guys, this is Mr. Breen, and in this video I will be talking about liability. Liability is a really important factor when people are deciding how to organize their businesses, whether they'll be a sole proprietor or a partner or a corporation. So the first thing I want to say about liability is a really important thing. When most of my students think about liability, their mind immediately jumps to lawsuits. Right, we all know about those crazy, frivolous lawsuits where, some burglar is trying to break into somebody's house, but they get injured in that person's house, and then the burglar sues the person for having an unsafe house, and they win, right? And then we all get really mad about that. This is certainly an issue for businesses, and it's an issue of liability, but it's not most of what we mean here. Most of what we mean when we're going to talk about liability is that businesses have a legal obligation to pay debts. And when we're talking about who has liability, what we're really talking about is on whom does that liability, on whom does that legal obligation to pay debts fall. So the way you should really think about liabilities is in sort of this bookkeeping language, right? When you're keeping books, maybe your personal books or a business's books, there are certain things that are debits, which are basically expenditures. Okay, there are credits, which is maybe income or something like that. Okay, so these are things that these are coming into your accounts, and these are leaving your accounts. This is why, first of all, when we have a debit card, right, you slide it, and the money comes right out of your account. It's a debit. Then there are assets. Okay, assets are things that you own that could possibly make you money. So assets for a person might include a house and a car and things like that. For a business, it might include a factory, something like that. That would be an asset. Okay. Oh, for households also, your bank account, that's an asset. If you have investments somewhere, those are assets. And then liabilities are, this is money that you owe. So this is sort of the opposite of an asset. Asset is ownership of something. A liability is owing something. So your credit card debt, that's a liability, right? Your mortgage, that's a liability for you. For a business, their liabilities might include bonds. Okay, you're going to have to pay back that bond eventually, or a bank loan would be a liability. So when we say that a sole proprietor has full liability, that means that he has the legal obligation to pay back those debts, and if he can't do it, he might have to declare bankruptcy. Okay, in which case some of those debts will be discharged, but he'll have to pay back as much as he possibly can, and oftentimes, to pay back as much of that debt as he possibly can, he'll have his assets seized in order to pay for those liabilities. So some of those assets are his house or his car. Those things might be seized from a sole proprietor, but for a corporation, it's very different. Okay, for the corporation, it's the corporation itself that has the legal obligation to pay debts and not any of its shareholders. So the shareholders' assets are actually safe. Now, the corporation's assets might have to be sold off, so it's not good for the shareholders, but their house or their car can't be repossessed in order to pay off the corporation's liabilities.